If you're a parent and you're drowning in debt, thinking it's all your fault, stop everything and listen to this carefully. What I'm about to reveal in this video may sound like a conspiracy theory, but it's the truth no one had the courage to tell you. It wasn't you who failed. The game was rigged to keep you losing. The elites, yes, the billionaires, bankers, and corporations, have learned how to manufacture economic crises to get even richer, while you watch your paycheck vanish, your credit card max out, and your dream of giving your kids a better life go down the drain. If this topic matters to you, subscribe to the channel right now, because here we talk about what the media hides. And hit the like button so this message can reach more families who are also being deceived. Let's open our eyes and flip this game together. Imagine a chess match. On one side are the powerful, with calculated strategies, silent moves, and billions stacked up. On the other side, there's you. A father, a mother, trying to survive on minimum wage, soaring inflation, and broken promises from politicians. But what if I told you that this crisis you're living through right now isn't natural? That it was created, planned, staged like a dark performance, where you always play the extra and leave as the one to blame. History proves it. Every time the elites want to change the course of the game, rewrite the rules, or cash in even more, they press the crisis button. That's what happened in 2008 with the banking collapse. That's what happened during the pandemic. And it's happening again now, with inflation eating away at your wallet and interest rates turning any debt into an economic prison sentence. And you know what's even more cruel? They convince you that it's your fault. They say you don't know how to manage money, that you're a spender, that you lack financial education. And sure, learning how to deal with money is essential. But that's not enough when the game board is already rigged. It's like asking a soccer player to win the match, with their feet tied. While you suffer, they win. When the market crashes, they buy up cheap stocks. When interest rates rise, they profit off other people's debt. And when everything seems to fall apart, they're already safe. It's a vicious cycle. They impoverish the people, sell the solution, profit from the recovery, and then start it all over again. And that's why you need to understand what's going on. Because only those who see the game can actually start playing it for real. If this is making sense to you so far, pause for a second and hit the like button on this video. That helps a lot in spreading this message and waking up more families. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, go ahead and click it. Every week I bring you truths that can free you from financial slavery. Now, let's keep going. Take this example. In the 1980s in Brazil, the government created economic plans that literally froze people's savings. Millions of Brazilians watched the money they had saved to buy a home or pay for college simply disappear. And who benefited from that? Big banks and investors who knew ahead of time and moved their money abroad before the chaos hit. Today, the story is repeating itself in a more sophisticated way. Now it's credit cards with 400% annual interest, easy loans that turn into traps, and a barrage of ads pushing you to live in the moment and finance your future. They want you to stay in debt. Because the more debt, the more control, more fear, more dependence. And a fearful people is a people that's easy to manipulate. In the post-war years, they sold the image to the entire world that the United States was the land of opportunity. A place where any hard-working person, with effort and dedication, could buy a house with a white picket fence, raise their kids safely, and retire with dignity. But that so-called American dream turned into a silent nightmare for millions of parents. What few know is that, behind this ideal, there's always been a silent power structure that profits from the people's failure. Instead of real opportunities, they offered credit cards with sky-high interest rates, predatory mortgages, unaffordable healthcare plans, and a college education that today leaves 18-year-olds buried in debt for decades. The dream became debt, and debt became control. The elites realized that keeping people in debt is the best way to make sure no one questions the system. After all, those worrying about paying rent don't have time to revolt against the real culprits. Economic crises in the United States are like predictable earthquakes. Every 10 to 15 years, a new financial shock shakes the foundations of the economy. But the only ones who collapse are the everyday workers. In 2008, for example, millions of Americans lost their homes. Entire families were evicted, their savings swept off the floors of real estate offices, their dreams buried under toxic mortgage contracts. And while that was happening, guess what the big Wall Street banks were doing? betting against the very economy. They knew what was coming. They manipulated the market, profited from the destruction, and were still bailed out with public money, your money. The crisis was manufactured. And the ones responsible? They're still free, rewarded, and richer than ever. It's like a firefighter setting your house on fire just so he can charge you for the hose. Today, in the United States, student debt has surpassed $1.7 trillion. It's such an absurd amount that it exceeds the GDP of many developed countries. Young people, just 22 years old, graduate from college already owing as if they had bought a mansion, but what they received was just a diploma that doesn't even guarantee half of what it once promised. This is not education. It's a trap. The elite created a system where, if you don't get into debt to study, you're marginalized. But if you do, you become a financial slave for decades. It's a cruel, premeditated dilemma. Meanwhile, private universities charge outrageous tuition fees, pay million-dollar bonuses to their presidents, and maintain profitable partnerships with big banks. Education has become a business. And like every elite business, their profit comes from your pain. In the United States, it's nearly impossible to live without credit. Everything is tied to it: rent, cars, jobs, even relationships. The problem is that this system was built as an invisible prison. Credit cards give you the illusion of power, but charge up to 30% interest annually for that illusion. Millions of Americans are juggling, paying the minimum on one card, taking a loan on another, refinancing their car debt, and continuing to spin in a cycle of dependency. The most shocking thing: the banks know this. They profit from every late payment, every revolving interest charge, every refinancing. The more you suffer, the better it is for them. And how can a population break free if it's emotionally tied to a system that rewards financial slavery? Unlike other developed countries, in the U.S., getting sick is a financial risk. A simple emergency visit can result in a $5,000 bill. A hospital stay? 10 times more. This causes entire families to avoid going to the doctor. The result? Illnesses progress, lives are lost, and the debts pile up. The American healthcare system is controlled by corporations that put profit over life. And while ordinary citizens have to choose between paying rent or buying insulin, healthcare CEOs make billions. The elite created a system where pain generates profit. In this scenario, health became a product. And you, a desperate consumer. The worst part: many don't even realize it. They think the problem is personal. But it's not. It's structural. And intentional. During times of recession, American television seems scripted. Panic headlines, apocalyptic forecasts, experts saying people must make sacrifices. But what they don't tell you is that, while you're being told to skip breakfast, major funds are buying entire properties for pennies on the dollar. The media serves as an arm of the elite, distracting, manipulating, pacifying. While you're afraid, they're doing business. And this entire show is sponsored by banks, insurers, and multinationals. The truth is, TV doesn't want you to understand the system. It wants you to keep consuming without thinking. Because fear paralyzes. And a paralyzed people is an obedient people. For decades, the biggest symbol of American success was owning a home. The commercial said, "Buy now, build equity, achieve your dream." But few mentioned that this dream was meticulously crafted as a trap. In 2008, millions of Americans lost their homes, not because they were irresponsible, but because they were pushed into unstable mortgage contracts, with fluctuating rates, unrealistic terms, and clauses few could understand. The elites, on the other hand, profited from every angle. They lent the money, bought the debt securities, bet against the repayments, and after the crash, bought the homes back for a fraction of the price. People lost homes, jobs, and dignity. Billionaires grew their real estate portfolios. Home ownership stopped being security. It became a tool for control. And the truth is simple and cruel. In the United States, the house you live in is just another asset making someone richer, someone you'll never meet. Few people truly understand what the Federal Reserve is, but in practice, it's the financial heart of the U.S. What should be a public institution acting for the good of the people is, in reality, a system controlled by private banks and powerful economic interests. The Fed decides how much money exists, what interest you pay, and how credit flows. In other words, they decide whether you'll prosper or sink. When the elite wants to stimulate the economy, the Fed lowers interest rates. When they want the people to retreat, rates go up. It's both psychological and financial control. In 2020, at the peak of the pandemic, the Fed injected trillions into the economy, but almost none of it reached the people. The money went straight to Wall Street, inflating stocks and empowering the giants even more. Meanwhile, families waited for $600 checks. It's like you getting a glass of water while the owners of the well fill swimming pools with profit. One of the greatest absurdities of modern America is the existence of private prisons. That's right, places where incarcerating human beings has become a business. The model is perverse. The more inmates, the more profit. The result? Harsher laws, disproportionate punishments, and the largest prison population on the planet. And who are the most affected? Poor, Black, and Latino youth. People born on the wrong side of the system. The elite that profits from prisons invests in politicians, influences campaigns, and shapes legislation. All to ensure the flow of bodies never stops. This is not justice. It's modern-day slavery disguised as public safety. While families are destroyed, companies make billions from contracts for food, security, and forced labor inside prisons. The elite has understood that even punishment can be turned into profit. And once again, those who pay the price are the voiceless. In the United States, there is the illusion of choice between two major parties. Democrats and Republicans may seem different on the surface, but the same banks, corporations, and billionaires fund their campaigns. People vote thinking they're choosing the country's direction, but in reality, they're just validating a system that's already been captured. Laws meant to protect citizens are written by lobbyists serving corporate interests. Social benefits are cut while billion-dollar subsidies are maintained for oil companies, pharmaceuticals, and tech giants. The elite controls the narrative, the promises, and even the disappointments. They know that a divided people is easier to manipulate. And while Democrats and Republicans fight on camera, the real power holders keep profiting behind the scenes. Today's American youth is the first generation with less economic prospects than their parents. They inherited a country with stagnant wages, precarious jobs, inaccessible healthcare, and unaffordable housing. But they also inherited something else: debt. Student debt, credit card debt, medical debt. They grew up being told that if they worked hard, everything would work out. But now they're discovering the game was rigged from the start. The elite concentrated so much wealth in recent decades that competing became impossible. And the cruelest part is that this generation is still blamed for it. Labeled lazy, spendthrift, and unstable, they are pushed into gigs, apps, and exhausting hours, all to pay bills that never end. It's like running on a treadmill that speeds up every day. And in the background, the system's owners watch and profit. The truth may be harsh, but it's liberating. The system was built to keep you in debt, exhausted, and compliant. But it only works because you still play by its rules. The first rebellion begins at home. Cut expenses. Yes. But more than that, cut illusions. Reduce dependency. Trade consumption for knowledge. Teach your children what no one taught you. It's not about becoming a millionaire, it's about regaining control. About looking at your bank account without fear, about breathing easier at the end of the month. The system won't be defeated with shouting, but with quiet, persistent action. With different choices, conscious habits, and a mindset that doesn't bow to pressure. That's what the elite fears, a people that awakens. That reads, that understands, that teaches. Because when awareness spreads, manipulation weakens. And that's where the real revolution begins. Maybe you're thinking, but what can I do if I'm already drowning? And that's where the most important part of this video comes in. You can get out of this. But you'll have to change your view of the world. You'll need to stop playing their game, and start playing yours. The first step is understanding that financial freedom doesn't begin with money. It begins with awareness. It begins with the simple act of saying, enough, I won't fall into this system anymore. From there, you begin to cut everything that holds you down, the useless expenses, the senseless installments, the debts that feed the system. You start saving, investing, and most importantly, learning. Because financial knowledge is the shield that protects your family from this cruel game. As George Orwell once said, in a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. And that's what you're doing here. Getting informed, waking up, preparing yourself. And I tell you clearly, it is possible to build financial freedom even starting from zero. Even in debt. Even without support. I've seen parents climb out from rock bottom, build their own business, pay off debts, and give their children a dignified life. What do they all have in common? They stopped believing the lie that they were to blame, and started believing they deserved to win. So if this video moved something in you, if you felt that pain in your chest remembering overdue bills, a stained credit score, or the fear of not being able to pay your child's school, don't ignore it. That's your soul crying out for change. Like this video now, comment, "I will turn the game around," and subscribe to the channel. Because this community was made for you. Every week I'll bring you practical strategies, real stories, and hidden truths to help you escape the trap. You are not alone. And the system only wins when we give up. But today you chose to resist. And that choice might be the beginning of everything. Together, we will expose this great deception, rebuild our finances, and show the elites that Brazilian families are not pawns. They are resistance. They are strength. They are hope. Share this video with someone who needs to wake up, and let's go. Because the game only ends when we win.